Welcome to our TGIF Red edition of Village in Motion. I am just thrilled to be your host on this cold but great Friday, February 1st. Can't believe we're already in the month of February. And I'm your host, Diane Gatsis Havinga. And as always, we are doing our annual Wear Red to Work Day, Village in Motion. And I am thrilled and privileged to have, and honored to have these three lovely ladies who, Juanita, we're going to count your pink as red.
Okay.
That's okay. Who have joined me on this campaign because it's so sad that the number one killer now, we've caught up with the men, that's where we're equal with the men, about heart disease. And before I get into the topic any further, let's, of course, introduce my guest. Sheri Nidiffer is our nurse practitioner, and she's also the vice president. I promoted you. Ooh, you didn't hear that? You didn't get that?
No, I didn't get that
okay,
memo.
Excuse me. The regional director of our employee health wellness centers. Next to her, of course, is Juanita Kuntz from our fitness center, and Helen Chung is joining us as our dietitian. And we have lots of information to share with you today because it is so very important that we take care of our heart. And men, don't turn this off because for the most part, everything we're going to say also deals with you and how you can take care of your heart. But there are some differences. And Sheri, I'm going to toss it to you. What are the differences in terms of why women don't necessarily realize they may be having heart disease, or when that attack occurs, the signs are a little bit different?
Right. I think the biggest difference, what they found out is, and we've talked about this before, that a lot of the research that has been done over the years was done on men only. So we are catching up with knowing what the statistics are. They were probably always 1 in 3. We just didn't have the statistics. But the classic signs that people talk about are the chest pain, the grabbing of the heart, and you kind of know you're having that chest pain. For women, it's seems to be a little bit less dramatic. So it might be just, I'm really tired. I just really don't feel good. Or, yes, that's kind of naggy. Or maybe a little bit of indigestion. The symptoms don't seem to be as severe as the, point right to heart disease all the time, or the heart attack all the time.
So, with that in mind, what are some of the symptoms that we should be? I mean, you mentioned some of them, but what should we really be conscious about?
Well, I think any pain that radiates down to the arm, up to the jaw, through to the back, any fatigue that is not explainable. It's really hard around the holidays when we were all so tired running through, from Thanksgiving to Christmas and New Year's, but now we've had time to regenerate. So any of those types of symptoms, anything associated with nausea or vomiting or sweating.
Now, are those symptoms that are combined, or it could be one symptom?
Usually there's that indigestion kind of discomfort that's located around, I'm going to say, this general area. We always assess one symptom, a system above and one system below, and then associated with any of those others. But if you even have fatigue that just seems to be very odd and out of the ordinary, go ahead and make sure you make that appointment to see your doctor.
And it could be not just like one big event like we think about when, the classic, I'm having a heart attack, and the guy keels over. Right. It could be something that just continues for a while.
It could be something, because you can have mild heart attacks, and they might just affect your heart and the circulation, so the oxygenation that you have to your brain or your organs, and you just might be really super fatigued. And this is something that you'll notice. It'll be like, this is really odd that I'm this tired. That's a really good time to go see your provider. And we're talking about heart attack, but there's also the stroke. So you don't want to ignore those types of symptoms either, where all of a sudden gosh, my hand's kind of tingly and numb, and You know, and you look in the, you know, in the mirror and you try to smile and only one side goes up. You know, these are all signs where you don't drive yourself to the doctor. You don't, you know, call your spouse or significant other. You dial 911. It's very quick and easy, because I'd much rather have you do that and us be sure that it's not, than to think, oh, sure, I'll be fine. Because a lot of people actually with a heart attack or stroke symptoms will just go lay down, and then we know that doesn't always turn out the way we want it to.
And that whole smile technique, it's not a technique, but you know, smiling, that's kind of a new phenomenon, in the sense that it's almost like, if you think you're having a stroke, you better smile, and if you can't smile, you're having a stroke.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of in the last few years, right?
Right, and you can really tell. I mean, your face should be really symmetric. I mean, one of your ears might be a little bit bigger than the other. We're not talking about that. I'm not going to show you my ears because of that, but you should be able to symmetrically smile. Symmetrically open and close your eyes. I mean, that should happen. So if you're smiling and something seems off, that's not normally there. So everybody go smile now that you're feeling fine, so you know. But you know, you just want to make sure that you do check that out.
And you did bring some stuff, some facts.
I brought
why don't
some
we
things,
go ahead
and
just because you brought them.
you know, a lot of these are kind of you know, tell the dire need to get help, but every 25 seconds someone's having an event of some sort, which is really crazy. And then every 39 seconds somebody dies of heart disease. If you think about it, that's really significant. But I think that the bigger part is 83% of people believe that heart attacks and strokes can be prevented, but aren't motivated to do anything against that.
And
that's the real big key.
Why we have two other people who are
Yes.
going to join us in helping us to prevent. But before I do that, and age really has no significance. In other words, the older you get doesn't necessarily mean the more likely you're going to have a heart attack. You can have a heart attack when you're
in your 40s.
Well, it's all about
early.
risk. And we certainly do. I know for the employees, we'll be having this month a how old is your heart and what is your risk of having a heart disease. And age does play a role in that. It certainly is a factor, but it is not the biggest factor. You know, I think the information on Go Red and what to do is really important, especially owning your lifestyle, which includes everything else. So that's key. So age certainly is something, but we can have heart attacks very, very young. And now that we know more, we're able to, you know, learn about these statistics a little bit more. It is a factor, Diane, but it's not the only factor.
So let's get to how we can help prevent the heart attack, how we can get that heart to be younger than we may physically actually be.
Right.
And I'm thinking the number one thing is exercise. What do you think?
Well, I think part of it, excuse my voice, you need to know your numbers. So if your blood pressure is high, if your cholesterol is high, if you're overweight, if you smoke, those things are, as Sheri said, your lifestyle is very important. So knowing your numbers is really number one.
And the numbers are your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and is pulse one of that? Or
Well, it's in there.
It's
We
in
kind
that
of check
part
your
of-
pulse as
Yeah.
we're doing your blood pressure. You want that to be regular, but
Right.
Right. And then jumping to Helen, in order to bring down those numbers,
Right.
besides exercise, it's also important to know what we're putting in that mouth, right?
Exactly, and you know they're never old enough to make change. You know, at any age you can make change, and sometimes change means breaking some old habits. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. My husband, when I first met him, we were eating out, and he hasn't even taken a bite of his food yet, and he's already putting the salt on his food, and I'm doing a double take.
Did he know you were a dietitian at that time?
Well, he knew I was studying it, but I grew up with no salt shakers in the house. They were something that you maybe only saw at a restaurant. And so I had to do a double take. You didn't even taste it before you put that salt on. So it really is, even at, later in life, you might have been salting your food all these years, but it's never too late to maybe change an old habit. So always taste your food before you even start to add something to it. I could say this till I'm blue in the face. Eating healthy does not mean giving up your favorite foods. We don't want to make it so that, you make your food so unenjoyable that you don't want to eat it. So still, try to make the most of what you're eating healthy, but, indulge occasionally. That's life, right?
And number one is dark chocolate is the best thing you can have, right?
I condone that.
Especially for Valentine's Day.
That's right.
So the American Heart Association actually has some really great material on their website. Even though it says goredforwomen.org, like you said, it's not just for women, it's also for men. Terrific information. So I brought up a couple of their handouts that they have on their website to share. One of the first ones that they have is the facts on fat. So I like this because it's really, easy to read and easy to understand. You've got the different facts on fat. The first one is love it. And they're promoting choosing more unsaturated fats. So
the olive oil, avocados, right. and that means you can get that those dips made out of avocado. I can't think of the name of it now off the top of my head.
Guacamole.
Guacamole,
exactly,
yes.
Exactly. And having the nuts on there as a good snack or on your salad, all those are helpful in decreasing your cardiovascular risk. The middle group, limit, those red meats, the dairy products. Doesn't say you can't have it, but try to limit it. Choose the lower fat options, the lower fat cuts of meat. These are the things that may increase your cardiovascular risk. And then losing those artificial trans fats. I know, they're in those processed foods, those
well,
baked
even
goods.
if I make the homemade cake, that's not a processed food.
Right, that's exactly right. That's better to make your own from scratch, more time that you can spend having an activity with your grandkids or your family to, make it healthier.
So you didn't say cut it out completely, you just said...
Oh, I think it did.
Avoid the processed
Did it say cut it out?
processed
I think I think it did. Limit the cheese. Juanita's having problems with limit the cheese. But if you make the cake, we'll be happy to sample for you.
Okay.
So you don't have to eat it all on your own.
Okay, good. All right.
We'll be your guinea pig.
All right. So what's next on your list?
So the next one is the tips for avoiding added sugar. That's another one that the American Heart Association really recommends. And the number one source of added sugar is sweetened beverages. So
your Cokes and your Pepsis, I'm going to be equal here.
Right.
And
what's nice is that, it doesn't happen to have in cold turkey, is we can transition down. If you're going to go to Starbucks and you're getting that caramel macchiato, ask them to cut down on the number of pumps. Like I said, you don't have to have it happen overnight and have nothing in there, but, cut it down slowly and start weaning yourself off that added sugar. You can even find really good replacements. Instead of using sugar, use spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. You can use replacements like fruits and dried fruit to give you that sweetness rather than from that concentrated sweet.
And I just have a little quick story. I am a Pepsi addict.
Yes.
I'm in a club all by myself in that, but I haven't had a Pepsi in over 2 years.
Yay.
So, and that was what I figured out in one of those 20-ounce bottles that I would have every day. There was 16 teaspoons of sugar in one Pepsi.
Right.
But if not all free of sugar, so now I have, I drink about probably a liter of tea a day, and I do that. Mm-hmm. But I put 1 teaspoon of sugar in the liter, and that seems to be enough just to take the edge off of the tea.
Yep.
So,
That's
It
really
works.
good.
you would have
That's
thought
good.
I'd be a skinny little toothpick by now, but clearly that wasn't what was doing it.
So what about honey? Could I take the teaspoon of granulated sugar and use it substitute honey for that, or am I still?
So they're still concentrated sweets, but sometimes you may be like, just like, Sheri did, you might be able to find that you might not have to use as much and you still get that satisfaction. So it's still a good alternative.
All
What
right.
if we get the honey right from the beehive? Is that, I mean, that's natural
Watch out for
sugar,
the bee
right?
stings.
Just trying to help out.
and you had one more slide.
So I
let's
found
go ahead.
another fun one. It's called 7 Salty Myths Busted. So I thought we could go through some of these. So the first one is eliminate sodium completely from your for good health. Now, we still need a little bit of sodium. And like we were saying earlier, we really need it for our popcorn sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
Goes with your Pepsi.
But sodium is still an essential element that our body needs. So, it's, like I said, we don't want to be so rigid that we eliminate it completely. Your body still needs a little bit. Okay. The second one is sea salt has less sodium than table salt.
So that's true?
It's false.
I was just going to say, because they've come out. I don't know if you've noticed when you've gone grocery shopping for canned goods. Now everything has with sea salt, and I'm like, and I took Helen has taught me well. I took the 2 cans, one that has just regular sodium and one with sea salt, and I'm like, well, why would I get the sea salt? It has like, I don't know, I wouldn't say double, but it definitely has more sodium.
They're equal in about that they have 40% of sodium in them. It's just that they have different minerals that give them that different taste, or that sea salt has that different texture. So that's why you see all the restaurants using them or products in the stores, but they're still the same amount of sodium. Yeah.
All right. And what else is on there?
So next is, I usually don't salt my food so I don't eat too much sodium. So I would say, years back even, we used to be able to say, oh, just don't add any, don't use the salt shaker. But really, the processed foods have so much sodium in them, they are still really getting us with all that sodium in there. So just even leaving the salt shaker aside is not enough anymore. You really have to be careful about reading the labels like you are, being more knowledgeable, educating ourselves on how much sodium are in these products.
And before we continue this discussion, the GoRed.org site had a great video that I would like to share. And if you do all these, but some of these, it gets you to where, what if you had more time?
What would I do if I had more time?
Oh, wow. If I had more time, I'd call my grandma back. I miss her.
I'd go straight to the studio and dance my little heart out.
I'd teach my great-grandson how to paint.
I would rescue all the animals that I could. I would take up the guitar again because I have always wanted to be a rock star. With the hair.
I would love to spend more time laughing.
I'd empower women to move.
I would follow my passion of writing.
I would spend it with my husband because he's an amazing person.
I would read.
Oh, I would totally buy those stilettos.
I would go to yoga every day and find more peace in my heart.
I would definitely meditate more.
I would focus on my faith.
I do everything I'm doing now, just more of it. More volunteering, more time with my family.
I would do more of what I want to do and less of what I have to do.
If I had more time, I'd give it all to her.
If I had more time.
If I had more time.
If I had more time.
I've been given more time.
And I have been given more time.
In 2008, at the age of 37, I suffered a heart attack, and I never saw it coming.
At 10, I was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, and at 22, I had a heart transplant.
Thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association,
so many of us have been given more time.
More time with our families, more time with our dreams, and more time to accomplish the things that cardiovascular disease tried to take from us.
And with that time, we choose to continue the fight past our recovery.
Hand in hand with those who helped us become survivors today.
So we can educate and eradicate cardiovascular disease in women across the globe.
Giving them more time.
giving us all more time. I am proud to work at Macy's, a company dedicated to supporting women's heart health.
We are here with you today to celebrate what it means to be a woman, what it means to be beautiful, and what it means to be alive.
And we're not going anywhere.
And I really think it hit all of us. I mean, the ages that we're talking about it doesn't, you know, I mean, if you get to your 80s and 90s, my God, you probably have it made, right? But to be in your 20s and have to deal with heart disease is pretty amazing. So we're kind of starting to wind down. Can you believe the time has already passed?
Goes faster.
But I don't know, Juanita, you said you wanted to share a story?
Oh, well, I sorry about this voice. My little brother, who's 58, had a heart scan here in Virginia, and he's moving up to be a traveling nurse in Seattle, Washington. And they called him and said, you need to schedule a heart surgery. And he said, I'm moving. And they said, well, hit the doctor there for a consult. So Friday, I guess a week ago Friday, he went in to say, schedule an appointment, and it was a pre-op. So he had heart surgery. They cracked him open. On Tuesday, he had a descending aorta aneurysm that had grown, and he didn't feel anything, nothing. But because he gets a yearly scan that showed the growth, he had it Tuesday. I saw him Thursday. He was walking around and feeling really good, but he's 58. So it's really good to have yearly scans on your heart, particularly if you've had problems in the past.
Wow, I'm glad he's doing better.
Yeah, he's doing real good.
And he moved?
He was walking.
But I mean, he moved physically?
Physically moved from Virginia to Seattle.
There's not any stress.
Yeah, no stress. No, exactly. So anyway, a lot of people know him here because he was our nurse.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Well, give him our best.
I will.
And thank you for sharing that. So, as always, I want each of you to think about what is the one thing that you think you want to leave our viewers with when it comes to heart disease and let's also include stroke. So, Helen?
I would say you really have to think of number one, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be there for everybody else.
Agree. I would say if you are overweight, and even if you're not, you just need to move.
And even in the cold weather? Even in the cold weather. Go outside, and even if it's for a few minutes, cold, frigid air really is good for the spirit and the soul. Yeah. It invigorates you, right? It kills off all those nasty germs. Yeah. Sheri, you have the last word.
There was some report in USA Today about 5 minutes outside in nature changes how you feel. So even 5 minutes. I'd like to say one thing would be know your numbers, because I think that's really important. But I came up with this little thing as I was thinking about this: the 3 WS's, which is walk, water, weight, sleep, stress, and be social. Because that connectedness with each other really does play a role. Walk, which gives into the keep
exercise,
moving, and it doesn't have to be fast.
Doesn't have to be fast. Just move. Water. We didn't talk about that, but water is a very important thing. Yep. Weight.
Keeping your weight to where it should be.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is a really, really big thing. Lots of studies are showing people that aren't getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep are actually increasing their risk of heart disease. Stress, we all know stress, and I gave you all these little stress balls.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be handing those out. And then be social. Social connectedness is something we didn't talk about, and it's not really in any of the algorithms, but it's really, really important. Living here, it probably decreases your heart attack risk, just living here and being social with each other. So it's really important.
And you can be social by walking with someone.
Yes.
And by eating and telling someone, do not put salt on that food, right? Pepper is fine. I'm a pepper addict,
pepper person, that's right.
So, well, ladies, thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know it increases your stress, but hopefully we have lowered it. And we'll be back in, I think, in a few months to talk about how to get ready for summer.
Yay! It's coming.